Happy Sunday. How's everybody doing tonight? Checking to see what we got here. I was just going over my show notes, and some of these things I'm going to talk about tonight are funny, but extremely depressing at the same time. And for those of you who are joining, I'm sorry about not being here last night. I was actually celebrating my upcoming birthday. So it doesn't help with the consistency thing, but I'm just happy to be alive. One of these days, I'll actually go through the details on that. But thanks to those of you who are here. We seem to be gaining a bit of an audience on Rumble. Hopefully, more people can transfer over to Rumble from definitely YouTube, because YouTube is such a shithole. But the things we're going to talk about tonight: New York City police, and I'll show you video of it, were literally getting kicked in the head by illegal immigrants. This is how bad the illegal immigration situation is getting. And then just released by the Attorney General, Alvin Bragg, who his main goal is to try and put Trump in jail, along with Letitia James. And they have fled to California. Initially, they thought that they had fled to Florida, which would have been par for the course. But now they think California. But I'm going to go over that deal, the illegal immigration issue, that is just absolutely out of effing control. More about illegal immigration in Denver. A Denver hospital is $136 million in the hole. Denver. Because of illegal immigration. So I'm going to discuss that, and I'm also going to discuss the situation on how, people need to start really paying attention to this, because if you're not, and you get sick and you need to go to the hospital, do you remember during the whole COVID situation where, those of you who refuse to get vaccinated, people like Jimmy Kimmel and these other assholes would say, hey, sorry, if you have a heart attack and you're unvaccinated, we're just going to let you die. Do you think in these liberal places that they're not going to do the same thing? They're going to give precedence to certain people. So we'll go over that. And to focus on the degeneracy and the breakdown of parenting in America as a whole, mom was too busy getting gangbanged to take care of her kid and pay attention to the fact that he was hearing voices. Not only was he hearing voices and asking for help because he was hearing voices and was afraid that he might do something bad, but the same mom who was busy gangbanging ended up buying him a gun. This is a crazy story. And the Boeing MAX planes, Boeing can't seem to get their shit together at all. They're too busy with DEI and equity and inclusion and diversity that ex-Boeing employees are not themselves riding on Boeing airplanes, but they're telling their family members, and they're telling people that they know don't ride on those planes because they're not fixed. And then if we have time tonight, I'm going to go over how farmers across the world are being attacked. They've been under attack for quite some time. However, there is a lesson to be learned from Sri Lanka. And as I was kind of researching the story, I remembered a few years ago that the same thing happened in Sri Lanka that's happening in Europe, and then is what they're trying to do in the United States, in a sense of destroy farming because of an agenda for climate change. And it did not end well for Sri Lanka. because it was a stupid idea run by stupid people. And the same stupid people are trying to do it in Europe and in the United States. And these are the same people, by the way, that over and over I talk about. They get everything wrong. They got the Russian collusion thing wrong. They got Kyle Rittenhouse wrong. Jussie Smollett. Everything you can possibly imagine. Inflation was transitory wrong. Everything wrong. And these are the same people. They remain in power instead of being voted out and exiled from power, and they remain in power, and they continue to make wrong decisions, and they're driving, for the lack of a better, I guess, word, the plane out of the sky, just like what's going on with Boeing. They're trying to kill us. So let's start out with a couple of the things before I go into each individual story. I'm going to play this. I can't verify if this is true. However, I can verify that when I go into the farmer story, this is kind of like a preview of what we're going to be looking at. This is going to show you a map of, I know a lot of you have probably seen story after story about food plants getting burned down or destroyed or whatever. Here's a map of food processing plants that have either caught fire or been destroyed in the past year. So that shows you, and I know some, and again, this isn't verified with each individual food plant itself, but there are a lot of these things happening. And there is a list. I'm going to go over that when we get to the Farmers Under Attack story. There are tons of these plants that are being destroyed. And when you tie it back to climate activists, when you tie it back to these same people that are telling you, hey, we need to cut down on farming because it's bad for the environment, you'll see how bad that is. This story is, this just goes to show you the degeneracy of the United States, and also if you think for a second that Trump is being treated fairly and there's not lawfare being involved in the New York City or the New York State justice system, this will blow your mind. A Bronx family court judge allegedly tried hooking up on a swinger app with a mom whose custody case she was hearing. 47-year-old Judge Cynthia Lopez reached out to Sydney Sutherland on the 3Fun app. Sutherland, who's been trying to get her kids back, this is a story, this is unbelievable in and of itself. So here's a woman trying to get her kids back, is on a three-way app. Shot back and said, bitch, you know who the fuck I am. And the public profile claims Lopez is bisexual and has a male partner named Ant. This is a judge in the Bronx. Quote, we love thick girls just as much as we love petite girls. And at the end of the day, it's all about personality. Guys at the most should be stocky. And I, the female, prefer males to be somewhat endowed. POV, you're currently going into family court and the judge who acts like she hates you inboxes you on a swingers dating app a week before the next court date. Lopez has since announced her recusal from the case. That's the lovely justice system for you. So you have a mother trying to get her kids back. So obviously her kids were taken away from her because I'm sure she's a degenerate in her own way. Is on this app for degenerates, and the judge hearing your case is a degenerate who was on the app as well. And there you have it. That pretty much sums up America. Actually, that pretty much sums up people altogether. I mean, this is incredible, this story. But it's not surprising in the least bit. But to have two people involved in this, and really the I guess the worst part of it is the kids. You know, these kids have to grow up. And as I get older, I start to realize, you know, these are people who, you know, when I was younger, I couldn't think at all for a minute that there would be people like this, like people my parents or friends of my parents. I don't know, maybe there was that kind of stuff going on, but just never really would have thought as a kid that this kind of stuff would go on. And then I have to remember now how old I am. And when you see these people that are similar in age to me, and you look at it and you go, wow, you know, this is really, it's pathetic what's going on in the world. And this is why we have Biden in office. This is why we have food shortages, which I'm going to go over. This is why you have planes falling out of the sky. And then this is why DEI is more important than safety. DEI is more important than people's lives. This is why people are walking around like that clip in The Big Short. People are walking around like they're in an Enya video because they're just not paying attention. All they care about is who's going to be in the Super Bowl. They care about Taylor Swift. You know, who's going to win the football game, but they're not paying any attention to the fact that, hey, by the way, maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, we might not have any cows anymore. You're not going to have meat. You're going to be eating bugs. You're not going to have any farms. And we're all going to starve to death and then get the jab that we don't want because they're going to figure out how to jab us without us knowing it. So this story just struck me as a representation, for the lack of a better word, of really what's going on in the world. And this is a judge who should never be on the bench. She should be removed, not recusing herself from the case. That's automatic. She should have her, if she has a law license, removed and should not ever serve on a bench again. This is unbelievable. And you'd be, oh, well, people could do whatever in their private lives. Whatever you do in your private life translates what do you do outside of that. I never in my life have ever bought that bullshit argument. What you do in your private life translates to what you do in the real world. And this person should never have any job that influences anyone else's life. It should be a routine job doing something that doesn't affect anyone's life at all. But this is New York. And unfortunately, it's spreading to other parts of the world and the country. And these are the types of judges that are trying the cases with Donald Trump. That's what you have on the bench in a different form, a different way, like Engoron and this guy Lewis. These judges in New York are the same in a different way. And Gary Busey was trending on Twitter today, And so I had to look up. I thought maybe Gary Busey passed away, but this is what came up. This individual, I guess people are saying looks like Gary Busey, and this person is in Australia and got their 6th COVID jab. So it's kind of fitting. Yeah. I don't know what to say. Public health announcement. I have COVID jab number 6. I'm not sure whether I believe any of this. I don't know. But it's making, it was trending today. This time the Moderna XBB 1.5. In case you don't know, we're in another major wave. I don't know if it's anyone's in Australia. Let me know. If you were in a wave, if you haven't had COVID or a vaccination in the last 6 months, it's worth getting a jab, especially if you're at high risk. Oh, think about wearing a mask in a crowded public space. It does reduce risk. Okay. Even though we've been told time and time again that the masks don't work. And initially, we were told by Fauci that they didn't work until they did, and then they didn't work again. So I'm going with it. They don't work. But this person, 6th COVID jab. I'm. You know what? Good for you. If that's what you want to do, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. Don't tell me to do it. Don't you dare tell me to do it. And don't tell me that I can't have a job, or I can't do this, that, or the other thing. If you're going to do it, go for it. But I am shocked. Whoever this person is, Professor Tracy Smart. So I'm kind of thinking this is some sort of parody deal. Satire, maybe. It's hard to. But if this is somebody who, you're on your 6th, you're a champ. Absolute champ. 50 Cent says that maybe Trump is the answer. Well, he's learned that illegal immigrants are getting credit cards, debit cards from New York City. I think it was $150 million worth. Of course, it's taxpayer money. The idea of giving money to the migrants is to keep them from stealing. That was the idea. So I guess you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So to keep them from stealing from local businesses and doing those things, we're going to steal from the taxpayer to give it to them because we're encouraging the illegal immigration. So this comes after Kanye West. I hate saying these names. I hate saying these rapper names. They're so cringe because they're so ridiculous. Because these guys are like older. I think they're older than me. And they're, I guess, coming to the realization that I'm not sure why because they're compromised. They have to be compromised initially in order to hate Trump. Because it's not cool anymore. I guess maybe that's it. It could be that they're coming to the realization that if you support Biden, obviously you're a moron right off the bat. But now from a cultural perspective, you look like a moron. And it's just not cool to be a Biden supporter. It's cool to be a Trump supporter. So I think you're starting to see the culture shift from, you're a dork if you are a Democrat and support Biden, and you're cool if you support Trump. I guess that's what's kind of happening here. But at the same time, you would think that these guys, I mean, I'm sure that 50 Cent, I mean, if you ever seen him throw a baseball, he threw a first pitch out. I mean, it was the worst thing I've ever seen. It was like a 4-year-old girl throwing a ball. 50 Cent. I wish I had it. I'd love to show it. But you can look it up on Twitter, whether on the internet. You'll see him. He throws it just like Anthony Fauci throws a baseball. It's embarrassing. But he has to be compromised. He's got to be in some sort of, butt banging thing or something, and Snoop Dogg too, in order for them to be compromised, to be Trump haters initially. So here comes Snoop Dogg now. So that was interesting. That was definitely interesting to see. And the gaslighting on MSNBC is just getting worse and worse and worse. You're starting to see now, these people are paid a lot of money to lie to you. And there are some changes that are happening, but it's really, really crazy to see how there are some people out there that still watch CNN, MSNBC after, Trump won Iowa, and Rachel Maddow was trying to tell you, well, we're not gonna show you a speech afterwards, and it's really difficult for us to make that decision, but we had to because he's spreading misinformation. It's the misinformation thing. Now, in reality, the misinformation is coming from all the alphabet networks. And then what they do is they add another layer of protection to the lies that they have with the fact-checking agencies that are owned by the same oligarchs and people that are lying to you at these major networks. But listen to this.
And that's what is so rare, right? You don't see the Fed chair get in front of a podium and say, this economy is strong. And that's what we're seeing. I mean, just yesterday, the Washington Post saying inflation is cooling. The economy is growing. This is the best recovery in the world. So for any Republicans who want to continue to try to keep battering the economy, yes, life is expensive. You can't argue that. This is a strong economy. That's one of the reasons you see them pivoting so hard to immigration. They just can't keep beating on the economy. And that's
the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard in my life. We're pivoting. The right is pivoting to immigration. And I haven't even gotten to the stories yet. The right is pivoting to immigration because the economy is strong. The immigration situation is so out of control. This is literally an invasion. It is a war that we are fighting. It is not some little thing that she's trying to make it out to be. I don't know how someone like it. Now, that's a person who has no soul. She's an empty vessel. That is a sociopath of the truest form. Someone who has absolutely no conscience and just doesn't believe that later on in life if she's going to end up going to hell. She does not think that there's going to be any consequences for her lying like she does to her viewers. And what's sad is there are viewers that sit there and believe what it is that she says. The immigration problem is going to make the situation of a piss poor, expensive economy that we have now worse. The middle class taxpayer is getting absolutely pummeled and abused in so many ways. Those of us who are right in the middle, that work our asses off every single day, have have to worry about how much we have to pay in our taxes. We have to worry about how much we're paying in healthcare costs. And God forbid you have a problem health-wise. You have insane deductibles on top of the premiums that you have to pay. And then you have to worry about how much. Now, all what's going on in New York, and it's already going on federally. These people that are coming into the country are not. The remain of Mexico. That's gone. So these people are flooding into the country, and now they're being given debit cards in states like New York to keep them from stealing from people. So what do you think stealing from businesses and things like that is going to do? You don't think that's going to increase property insurance costs? And then if they hurt themselves, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think the general liability and things like that, or you don't think they're going to say, "Oh, I slipped and fell on your property," and you don't think that's going to end up causing a problem? I mean, this is crazy. That this woman is sitting here telling you that the economy is great. And in order to shift the attention away from the fact that the economy, there is no one that thinks the economy is great, except super rich multi-millionaires and billionaires, even millionaires. I mean, even if you're a millionaire, it's hard. You have to worry about every single little thing that you end up having to pay. I'm no millionaire, so I wouldn't know, but with taxes and with the rising costs of things, I mean, you have to be a multimillionaire in order not to worry about this stuff. So this Stephanie Rule she's a real scumbag. And MSNBC's and CNN does the same thing. They get to sit there and gaslight you and lie to you, straight face, just lie to you and tell you that the economy is good. So let's take a look at what happened with the illegal immigrants in New York. So it's already bad enough that they're getting gift cards and they're coming in left and right, and our taxes are going to go up because we're having to pay for all this, because guys like Alvin Bragg, who are Soros funded, and Soros is a Nazi sympathizer and wants to destroy America, because that's what he does. He wants to destroy the Western world. That's his thing. Listen to what this guy did with these illegal immigrants that came in and literally kicked a couple of New York City police officers.
Well, now to the latest on the brutal attack against two NYPD officers. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg staying silent as we try to ask why 5 of these suspects were released without bail. Fox 8's Linda Schmidt joins us live from Midtown. And Linda, you tried to press Bragg on that very question earlier today.
Yeah, I sure did. I tried to press him, and other reporters tried to press him on that issue as well, but he was not interested in talking to any of us earlier today. And it appears the governor is not supporting him in this case. DA Bragg, why did you not ask for bail? Why didn't you ask for bail for these migrants?
Notice how he walks out of there with that scowl on his face? And he looks like he's walking out of a court as a criminal, as someone who's just been charged with something. You at least have the decency with all those people, especially someone from a news organization, to say, okay, I know people have, they might have the wrong idea of what I did, and here's why I did it. He knows what he did was wrong, but he just walks out like a damn criminal, because that's what he is.
District Attorney Alvin Bragg trying to get away from questions about his decision to release 5 illegal migrants charged with assaulting 2 NYPD officers in Times Square that was caught on camera. All 5 were released without bail, even though...
Look how they were kicking these cops. Kicking these cops while they're down. I got news for you, Biden voters. I got news for you, Democrats. This is coming to your doorstep. It's happening in New York City because that's where they congregate. But listen to what Letitia James says in this thing later. She's going to let you know where initially we're going. I guess it was going to be California, but it's coming to your doorstep. And I blame you if you voted for Biden for this. I blame you. This is your fault. You did this. And you're not smart enough, or you don't have at least the common decency to research what's going on in the world and really pay attention to what's happening in the world before you make a decision on who you're voting for.
No, they are charged with a felony. Now 4 of them have reportedly fled the state. State Attorney General Letitia James weighing in.
Despite the fact that they have allegedly have fled to Florida, the long arm of the law will find these individuals. They will be arrested.
What do you have to...
So there's another one. Letitia James. Her main concern is trying to put Trump in jail for some bullshit. With another leftist judge who says that though there's really actually a victim, even though the bank said we're not a victim of any crime, he paid our loans back. So I don't know. We don't know why you're even doing this. The judge says, oh no, you don't have to be a victim, but the fairness in the marketplace was a victim. That's why this case is still going on with Letitia James.
Say to the people of New York? You have nothing to say to the citizens of New York? D.A. Bragg immediately left a hotel in Midtown after attending a winter conference with Governor Hochul and the state's 61 other district attorneys. The 4 other city DAs attended a news conference with the governor, who took questions.
In the past few days, and you've said this multiple times, that you are looking to judges and prosecutors to do the right thing. Do you think that D.A. Bragg did the right thing by releasing illegal migrants charged with assaulting 2 New York City police officers violently who have no ties to New York City, New York State, or this country? Do you think he did the right thing? And they're charged with felonies.
Anytime there's an assault on a police officer, which is a very serious offense, it is bail eligible and bail should be sought, meaning right now that they should be sitting in Rikers.
So that's surprising to hear, but that's not good enough. That's not good enough. She should come down way harder. But Hochul is another problem. I mean, she is a crazy leftist as well. I mean, I don't know how anyone can actually live in that state or in that city. I mean, and they're not. I mean, they're fleeing like crazy and coming to Florida, which, you know, so far, most of those that are coming are actually, I mean, they've turned the state red because a lot of these people that are coming from these states are mostly, I think, from what we've seen in the last elections, are lean right. But the city, I mean, I don't think the city's ever going to make, I don't think it's ever going to change. I mean, when people are interviewed in the city, they are gone. Like mentally, they are gone. I mean, they are absolute Trump haters. They have no idea why they're Trump haters. When they're interviewed, they're asked a question about it. They can't give you an answer. They're psychotic, and I have to figure out. I've got to go in depth on this and figure out why this is. It is really strange, these people that are in New York that with the Trump derangement syndrome, and just when they're asked about it, like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And it's like at that point, would you come to the a normal person would come to the realization and say, you know what? Maybe I've got this all wrong, but they don't. And the fact that they live in the city and have to pay what they have to pay in order to live there. Because now they have to, those people that remain in New York have to pay for all of those that have fled. They have to make up for their taxes. They have to make up for everything that you end up having to pay in New York. It's extremely expensive to live there. And these nuts, are still there. I don't know how they make a living.
Okay, now, even though you just saw there in my report that D.A. Bragg had every opportunity to speak with reporters and address this issue, earlier today he chose not to, and he had every opportunity to do it. Instead, what he ended up doing was calling a late news conference. That happened about an hour ago. Now, at that news conference, he said they don't have any proof at this point that 4 of the illegal migrants have fled the state. However, they are continuing to investigate that.
Well, keep him in jail while you're investigating it. What kind of dumbass thing is that to say? And he has no, now they talk in circles because they have no legitimate reason for why he did what he did. He did it because George Soros told him to. He said, if I'm going to give you this money to become the DA, you are going to do everything in your power to make sure that anyone committing a crime does not go to jail. But if they're white, you better do every damn thing you possibly can to put them in jail. That's the strategy. That's the whole thing. That's what's going on.
He also had this to say.
We do not tolerate people assaulting police officers.
Yeah, you do.
But in a court of law, and our profound obligation is to make sure we have the right people charged with the right crimes.
That's the excuse. We need to make sure that we have the right people charged. You have it all on tape. Here, and that's the other thing. Now it doesn't even matter if you have them on videotape. This isn't hard to do. But this guy, and again, if you lived in New York City and you had half a brain, you would do everything you possibly could to protest and make sure that this guy was removed from office and had his license revoked and never serve in any attorney general's office ever again anywhere. But New York is crazy, and they continue, and to them it's no big deal. So I welcome all people who are against this stuff and will vote in a different way for law and order. Come to Florida then, and let New York, because what's going to end up happening, and this has happened in the past, because I grew up in New Jersey, and New Jersey's a shithole in and of itself. I've seen this stuff when I grew up. Whenever you had a Democratic mayor of New York City, Dinkins, Koch, the city was, you couldn't go to the city because the crime was out of control. And the only person back in the 70s that actually turned it around, 70s and 80s, was Donald Trump. Donald Trump, they literally gave him free he didn't have to pay property taxes on Trump Tower. I think even to this day, I think they gave him 40 or 60 years to where they were so desperate to turn New York City around because of the crime. Nobody wanted to live there. It was so bad. And I think it was before Koch, the mayor before him, it was even all the cops ended up they all just walked off the job because it was either they didn't have enough money or the crime was so bad and they didn't have enough money. They're like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's always Democrats. Name me a city. I mean, Detroit, is that a successful city? Run by Democrats. Baltimore, New Orleans, LA, Houston, Chicago. I mean, but they keep voting for him. And here's one of them. Just flip the double middle finger, the double barrel middle finger. This is what's coming in. This is what's crossing the border, ladies and gentlemen, and coming to the United States. This is what's coming.
New video is sparking even more outrage.
And I can hear the leftists right now. Oh, well, it's because of Fox News. Well, who gives a shit if it's on Fox? At least they're talking about it. As much as I hate Fox News, at least they're talking. So does that change the story? Does that make the story ever? Did they somehow magically generate 2 middle fingers from an illegal immigrant that came in and beat the shit out of 2 cops and kicked them in the head? Is that a fake story now because it was reported by Fox News? Fucking people.
Over the group of migrants accused of attacking 2 New York City police officers. That's what you're looking at on the left hand of your screen. Those guys were freed without bail. And now look at this. Here's one suspect flipping the bird to the cameras.
There you go.
Could care less. Another blows.
Couldn't care less. I hate it when people do that. Couldn't care less. But he
as he smiles and
look
laughs.
at these guys.
The other suspect next to him also putting up the middle fingers and cursing at those reporters.
Illegal immigrants.
Remorseless, brazen,
giving the finger.
Smug. And now the question is, will the Biden administration deport these migrants?
Nope. They want this. The Biden administration wants this. George Soros and his other cronies want this. Communists want this. Why? Because it destroys America. The people that are in power right now want to destroy America. The people where I'm surprised this hasn't been taken down off YouTube. People who run YouTube want to destroy America, even though they're going to destroy themselves and everything around them themselves. It's like Soros, people at YouTube, all these oligarchs, all these people that want to destroy America. They're all in the same house, and they're inside the house, and it's locked, and they're pouring gasoline around them, and they're lighting it on fire, not realizing that they're all going to die in the fire too. That is what's running America. That's how dangerous they are, because they think that when they burn the house down somehow that they're going to survive it. Somehow they're going to get out. Like nothing bad is going to happen to them. That's how crazy these people are.
Grace, this video is so hard to watch. On top of the video that was so hard to watch of them attacking police officers. Yeah. Will there ever be accountability?
No. And for your first question, will the Biden administration deport them? Doesn't matter, because if they do, they'll be back in 6 days. How many cases do we have where these people just come back? It's a revolving door. They go and they come back. If you or I or the Atlanta Falcons, as you were talking about earlier, went to Times Square and we kicked a cop in the head and we beat up a cop, we'd be in Rikers for the foreseeable future. That would be.
And that's the biggest thing, is that these people go free, but if you did the same thing and you were white, you'd be in jail. And I'm sure they're probably gang members. I just.
Why were they released? Why were those first migrants released?
Look how smug he is. This is a different angle of the same thing. You see how smug he is? He's got that smug, like, yeah. Because to him, there won't be any consequences for him. It's no big deal for him. Alvin Bragg is a Soros-funded DA. And like I told you about George Soros, which I'll get into in a minute, even CNBC, CNBC did an article. They couldn't deny that he's funded by George Soros. But they were trying to say, well, the ties to George Soros isn't exactly like it seems. And so they try to distance him from George Soros until the very end, because they know that most people aren't going to read the article to the very end. But the most important paragraph of the article is at the very end, and it says, while Soros' involvement with Bragg appears to have come through his Color of Change donations. And the Color of Change is a organization, one of several run by either Soros directly or other entities, because try to hide them and like weave this intricate web so you can't really see exactly who has all this stuff. Two of his family members have a more direct link to the Manhattan DA. Months before Bragg won a 2021 Democratic primary on his way to becoming Manhattan DA, George Soros' son Jonathan and his wife combined to donate $20,000 to Bragg's campaign, state records show. There was a lot more that went to, and that's a lot of money. And there was even more money that ended up going to Bragg. And he's not the only one. This is going on all over the country. Between 2016 and 2022, George Soros and Democracy PAC contributed $4 million to Color Change's PAC, including $1 million in May 2021. The group reportedly intended to help Alvin Bragg with the money, but did not directly donate funds to Bragg's campaign. Of course he can't, because it would make it too obvious, now wouldn't it? Soros had given to a group multiple times before it endorsed Bragg. The Open Society Policy Center, which is a well-known deal with Soros, another Soros-affiliated organization, gave Color of Change a 5-year grant, $1.4 million annually, from 21 to 25 to advance racial justice, and that's what they hide behind. Soros claims that, we need to give more racial justice to these people, and that's why somebody like Bragg says, okay, the reason I'm not putting these guys in jail who are illegal immigrants is because they're brown, and that would be racially unjust. See, the problem with Alvin Bragg is he's too stupid to understand what makes it blatantly obvious that he's doing this. Like there's no governor on him. He's just not intelligent enough to differentiate between making it obvious that he's doing the wrong thing. Like what he should have done is to not make it obvious, is just to let him go without bail. At least say, okay, I'm going to give him low bail, and just say, hey, well, I gave him bail. I mean, they got the money and they got out and they fled. But it's one extreme or the other. And I guess at this point they don't care because, again, people like this fear no consequence. So $1.4 million annually from 21 to 25 to advance racial justice. The funding was part of a publicly announced $220 million investment in racial justice efforts focused on black-led organizations. And this comes from USA Today and CNN. These aren't Fox News affiliated deals. Even Politico, who's left-wing. While America's political kingmakers inject their millions into high-profile presidential and congressional contests, Democratic megadonor George Soros has directed his wealth into an under-the-radar 2016 campaign to advance one of the progressive movement's core goals, reshaping the American justice system. Why is George Soros doing that? There are plenty of things that you can spend your money on. But somebody like George Soros likes to burn things down. He is a bad, like if there is a such thing as a Dr. Evil, he is that guy in real life. Some of the more important paragraphs I've highlighted in this article, and you can look it up for yourself and read the entire thing. But opponents of Soros's favored candidates have laced into the billionaire, saying that his influence has widely tipped the scales of local elections and even charging that he made residents less safe. Case in point, what happened with these illegal immigrants? He made not only New York City less safe, because I'll tell you right now, if I were a cop in New York City and I saw that, I'd be like, I'm out. I don't need this. I'm trying to do my job. I'm on the ground. I'm getting kicked by a bunch of kids. And those kids are scumbags who broke the law coming to the country. So they're already criminals as soon as they cross that border. but then they're not even held. They're just let go without bail. In late spring, $107,000 from a Soros-funded New Mexico super PAC helped Raul Torres win his Democratic district attorney primary by a 2-to-1 margin in Albuquerque's Bernalillo County. Torres' Republican opponent dropped out of the general election soon after, citing the potentially exorbitant cost of opposing the Soros-backed candidate in the general election. So Soros, what he's doing is he has so much money he can spend a ton of it in these smaller elections. But these elections are huge in the sense that they determine where a city is going to go. And if it turns Democratic and they're taking people like this, like these illegal immigrants, they're allowing them to vote in those cities. So they'll be democratically controlled indefinitely. And if you walk down the street and one of these kids happens to be there, they'll kill you. And guess what? They won't get arrested. That's what's happening. That's what Soros and Alvin Bragg want. They want you to die, and they'll do nothing about it. If one of those cops died, I guarantee you it wouldn't have been any different. That's how crazy this is now. That one of those illegal immigrants kicked one of those cops in the head, could have killed him. That's attempted murder in my case. And I mean, that's easy. That's easy. These kids attempted to kill a cop by kicking him in the head, and they were let go without bail. So at this point, it's safe to come to the conclusion that Alvin Bragg wants white people and those who follow the law dead, and those who break the law running things. That's the only thing that you can come up with at that point. That's the only conclusion. And that's what, like, you look at this guy. Look at it. Look at his face.
Maybe putting out more vids between streams would help with subscribers. Did you see Mike Lee's complaints about the firm?
Kazan, welcome. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate that. Bear with me for a second. I just need to pull that up. Oh, my stomach is... Mike Lee's complaints about the firm. I'll look that up a little later. Yeah, I got to put out. You're right. I used to do the more vids between the streams, but of course I got extremely busy. So I'm definitely going to be doing more of those smaller vids in between. But that's definitely a very good suggestion, Kazan. But yeah, look at going back to Bragg. I mean, just to look on his face, you can tell by the look of that guy, he's a dirtbag, and obviously he is. I mean, it's not a. I mean, for you, I mean, and he has no excuse in those interviews after the fact. No excuse for why he did what he did, because again, he's not smart enough to at least somewhat do it delicately, to where he doesn't make it blatantly obvious that he's trying to kill people in his district that are law-abiding citizens and cops. He has no problem with those people getting hurt or killed. This is maddening too, and this is extremely important that you really, really need to pay attention to. Denver Hospital, and this is another Colorado and Denver. I'm pretty sure Denver is democratically run, but Denver Hospital is $136 million in debt or in a deficit due to illegal aliens. So this is an article from the Washington Examiner about what's going on. And Denver Health is the hospital. It's Colorado's biggest safety net provider. And it's on the brink of a major crisis due to unpaid Medicare or medical costs, as the state grapples with a historic influx of undocumented immigrants. Now, this is Denver, Colorado. We're not even talking about New York City. We're not even talking about Chicago. All the ones that you hear on TV. And in some of the some of the like the Washington Examiner and different places. But Denver Health faces unprecedented crisis. Denver Health, Colorado's largest safety net provider, is in a major crisis due to escalating unpaid Medicare or medical care costs, primarily attributed to a historic surge in undocumented immigrants in the state. Undocumented immigrants strain healthcare system. Dr. Stephen Federico, Chief Government and Community Affairs Officer for Denver Health, notes that thousands of migrants are utilizing the health system, many of whom lack the financial means to cover medical costs or lack proper insurance. What did you all think was going to happen when these people were coming in? They need to be, they're going to have healthcare issues that they're going to have to deal with. But who's going to end up paying for all this stuff? Again, the middle class that's already getting the crap beat out of them. Sharp increase in uncompensated care. Between 2022 and 23, Denver Health witnessed an additional $10 million in uncompensated care, marking a significant escalation from the $60 million in 2020. The uncompensated care burden rose to $136 million in the past year. $136 million. Again, who ends up paying for that? Somebody has to pay for it. The migrants aren't going to pay for that. Healthcare challenges for Venezuelan migrants. Venezuelan migrants residing in various makeshift accommodations in Denver, which I'm sure are being paid for by you and me, the taxpayer, are presenting with numerous health issues. Attributing these problems to the challenging journey they undertake to reach the U.S. I mean, this stuff is unbelievable that I'm reading this. And it's unbelievable that more people aren't paying attention to it. And more unbelievable that it's just like I think I'm talking to myself. I mean, you have to understand that this is going to affect all of us to the point where you're going to end up going to the hospital and you're not going to be able to be taken care of because the hospital is going to be overwhelmed, or it's not even going to be there anymore because they're going to shut it down because they can't afford to stay open. Approximately 8,000 people from South and Central America, contributing to 20,000 visits, have become new patients at Denver Health. City data indicates that Denver has assisted over 35,000 migrants within the last year alone. That's just Denver. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston reveals that the city is experiencing a migrant crisis at an unparalleled level, taking in more migrants per capita than any other large U.S. city. I wonder why that is. The arrival of around 200 to 250 migrants daily, an additional 5% of the city's population over the past year, highlighted the severity. With shelters overwhelmed, Denver's migrant crisis is straining the city's resources. The influx has led to a substantial increase in patients with acute healthcare needs, contributing to the financial burden on Denver Health. So these people also are coming in not only having injuries and things like that because they're crossing the border and making, I mean, some of these people don't survive, but then what kind of diseases are they bringing over? But nobody cares about that. This is the other thing that really, really pisses me off. There doesn't seem to, when we had this thing going on with COVID, you could protest as long as you were protesting the right thing. If it was a BLM protest, you couldn't spread COVID. And with these people coming over the border, no problem. We don't need to check them. But if you were coming in on a flight from another country, or you were a U.S. citizen coming in from another country, returning home, you had to have the vaccination. But these people, no, it doesn't matter. Because again, it is all about destroying America, importing voters, making money off their labor. I mean, you name it. There's all kinds of different reasons why these people are being allowed to come in. It can easily be stopped tomorrow, easily, and reversed. But the powers that be don't want that. So just keep that in mind. Because at some point, if you get into a car accident and you're really severely injured, or you get severely sick, God forbid get cancer, God forbid have some sort of, severe sickness, you may not get treated. Just like when we were dealing with what we were dealing with COVID. And who would have thought that, after that you would still end up having to potentially deal with that situation?
Denver healthcare system is now saying that it has provided more than $130 million of medical care that it still has not received payment for, with thousands of migrants contributing to that bill.
And of course, the lack of a federal response to the healthcare needs of this population results in their inability to pay for the majority of this care. So it has contributed to our financial distress.
To be
So this guy thinks that federally, the federal government should be paying for this. In other words, you and me, once again, what else, the U.S. taxpayer has to pay for this. What else do you want us to pay for? At some point, it has to stop. You don't see billionaires writing checks to deal with this stuff because they're happy to just watch this stuff happen. And they're like, oh, guys like Dennis and the people that watch him and, the middle class that work 9 to 5, and they'll pay for it. That's what they're there for. We're the slaves. If there's still, if you want to talk about slavery, we're the ones. We just don't realize it. We're the ones paying for all of this stuff. And by the way, this is, I don't know what the answer is because, they're all coming in through Texas, and Texas is sending them to all, different parts of the country. I guess what I don't understand is why is Texas not putting them on planes and then dropping them off back? I'd put them on a cargo plane and take them to Siberia. It just seems odd to me that Texas is just taking them and sending them to, I get it. I think, it proved a point, or it was making a point by sending them to like Martha's Vineyard and some of these other places. But it's just making all of these other cities, and I guess at the same time, who cares? Because, the people that we want fleeing those cities and coming to us are the people that we want as voters, and let those cities burn. But at the same time, these people that are here should not be here. And it's changing the culture of our country, and not in a positive way. I don't care what anybody says. That's a lie. Everybody knows it. The people that are telling you that it is, including Joe Biden, are liars. And there's video after video after video of Biden, Obama, Clinton, all saying that this shit should never have been happened back in the 80s and 90s. that you cannot what's happening right now is a travesty and should never happen. They are saying it themselves. Kaz, let me take a look at your Yesterday, a reporter standing outside a Senate chamber told me after 4 months of secrecy, the firm plans to release the text of a $106 million supplemental aid border security package, possibly as soon as today. Wasting no time, then asked, if you get the bill by tomorrow, will you be ready to vote on it by Tuesday? The words, hell no, escaped my mouth before I could stop them. There are strong words where I come from. The reporter immediately understood my frustration was not directed at her. Rather, it was directed at the firm of Schumer and McConnell. Yeah, this back and forth, they just blame each other. Well, they don't want the Democrats, they want to give money to Ukraine, so we don't want to give it to them. And then the opposite side, the Republicans don't want border security. Because they won't give the money to Ukraine. So it's this back and forth finger pointing thing. I want to move on to a different story, but thanks for sending this. But yeah, I mean, this is the games that these guys play, going back and forth between Schumer and McConnell. McConnell is a whole story in and of himself, and his connections with his family to China. And there's a reason why McConnell is part of all of this stuff that's going on in the government, because of his wife, her father, and his ties to China with his shipping company, and why it's really important for them to maintain those ties to China. But yeah, thanks for sending that over. I'll definitely be covering that. That is a good idea for a story with Mitch McConnell, because I don't think that many people really know the background about Mitch McConnell, and that his wife, she was in the government. I can't remember, Secretary of Commerce, I think. And yeah, her father has a shipping company and has ties to China. I mean, and when I was looking at a bunch of politicians, there's a politician, I can't remember who it was, saying something about how Trump supporters or somebody should be murdered. The guy was born in China, and he's in the state government. And you're going to sit there and tell me that these Chinese that are in and there's a lot of them in California, by the way, that they don't have CCP ties? Come on. So this, going back to degeneracy, and I'm gonna go over this briefly. But here's a woman, I don't know who would touch her, but she was getting busy to the point where her son, Ethan, was begging for help, saying he was hearing voices and all kinds of crazy stuff. And that he thought that he was going to do something bad. Her and her husband, who she was cheating on with, I'm here for the gangbang, bought the kid a gun. And so this guy, Ethan, killed a bunch of people. And let me see how many people are on YouTube, because if I start talking like this, I'm sure I'm going to probably get bounced. Those of you that are on YouTube, there's not that many of you. I guess a lot of people come and go. I am going to head over to Rumble. I'm going to shut down the YouTube stream. I keep forgetting to do this, but I am going to do it now. I'll keep everything open, including Odyssey and all that stuff. But anyone on YouTube, head over to Rumble. And it's going to be rumble.com/Dennis Hendrickson. So I'm going to, while you do that, I'm going to end the stream, give you a couple seconds to those of you that are on to come on over to Rumble. You can also go to Odyssey. You can find Dennis Hendrickson on Odyssey as well. I'm on Kick or Twitter. If you're on Twitter, X, we're on there. Kick, X, D Live, Odyssey. So head on over. Those of you on YouTube, head on over to Rumble.